I don't want a pickle. Just wanna ride on the motorcycle. And I don't want a tickle. I'd rather ride on my motorcycle. And I don't wanna die. Just wanna ride on my motorcycle. You know, it's been about 12 years now that I've been singing this dumb song.
The problem was that everybody who had been invited, and not by me, but by the producers and people like that, everybody that was there had already heard the song a couple hundred times. So there was nothing funny about it to them. And every time I hear that first record, that's exactly what I hear. So when we got ready to make the second record, I said, okay, no live audiences and stuff. We want to make a regular record where you can we were having fun in the studios anyhow. It was playing tracks backwards and just crazy stuff. But it was fun. And I've been working on this record for, I don't know, about a month or so. And frankly, it was awful. But that had never stopped me. One day I came in first thing in the morning, and the head engineer came over and said, Arlo, we knew you was coming in first thing this morning, and so we didn't bother putting the tapes away last night. And while we was all sleeping, Haley's Comet came over New York City and erased everything on the tapes. And I was like 19, so I said, whoa. I believed him. And then he said, and not only that, we have to get a record to Warner Brothers in 2 weeks, so there's no way we can finish your studio project. We have to go out and record some live stuff. And that's exactly what they did. They recorded the 2 worst nights of my life. And after 50 years, that's saying something. And they gave that to Warner, so I still don't allow that record in the house. For the third record, I said, enough of this. And I left the East Coast, went down to California, and I ran into some really incredibly wonderful players. Guys like Rock Cooter, Clarence White, and Chris Etheridge, and people whose work I really admired. And we were working on a record. It was called Running Down the Road. And in order to sort of put a visual on it, they wanted a picture of me on a motorcycle or something. And I said, well, this is the West Coast. I don't have nothing out here. To the rescue came Mike Nesmith of the Monkees. He let me borrow his Triumph Bonneville, and I rode that around Southern California for a couple of days while they was taking pictures. And sure enough, they got one for the cover, and the record came out in 1969. Flash forward to about a couple of years ago. We was planning a cross-continent motorcycle run as a charitable event fundraiser like people do. And we were figuring out the logistics, where we were going to go, where we was going to stop, how far we was going that day, who was going to be there, what kind of, we were going to film part of it and all that stuff. And they wanted me to come up with some kind of promotional material as a way to identify it or something. And so we didn't have any modern pictures of me on a bike. So they went back and found the ones from 1969 and said, yeah, let's use these. And so we were calling that Running Down the Road. It made sense with a picture of me on the bike and all that. At the same time that we was planning this thing, we were booking this tour that we're on right now. And I remember before we used to have names for tours. I mean, it used to be, Here He Comes Again. That was good enough for decades. Until the the venues wanted to know, well, what's he doing different this time? I couldn't remember what I was doing the last time. So it never bothered me, but in order to help me to sort of focus, I guess, they wanted to give these tours names, and so everybody's scratching their head, saying, hey, we already got the promo for this cross-country motorcycle run. Let's just call it Running Down the Road. We'll use the same pictures and everything. And they started booking this tour. That's when they canceled the cross-country motorcycle thing. And we were stuck with the tour, with the name, and the old pictures and all that kind of stuff. Which meant I also had to relearn the song. That goes something like this. Let's see. Running down the road, make my getaway. Everything I told you was just yesterday. Yes, you know I'm off again. Oh, but I've been told you have this I need running down the road. I'm not even here now. I'm coming tomorrow. They said, no, you're here now, man. You got to play now, man. I said, I can't play now, man. I can't walk now, man. They said, we don't care about that. Richie Haven's been up playing 4 hours. There's nobody else. You got to play now, man. And I was too young to realize I could have said no. So I grabbed my big 12-string guitar, walked out on this huge stage, and in the middle of that big stage, they had a circular stage built right in. So while the guys in front was playing, you could set guys up behind them. And when they was done playing up front, you just twist the stage around. Not be wasting time breaking down the first band, setting up the second one. It was a great idea. I mean, it didn't work, but it was a great idea. And in the middle of the circular stage, they had a big hole for all the cables and mic lines, wires, all that stuff. And they didn't tell me about the hole. I wasn't looking for the hole. I'm looking at more people I knew I'd ever see again in my life at one time. And I was looking at them like you could back then, each one individually. That's when I remember falling through time and space. And then the most unbelievable thing happened. I moved through the molecular structure of the wood itself. And I rematerialized on the other side of the hole, on stage, almost completely intact. That was my memory of it. Don't fix my bags, please. We'll be right back. In those days, it was not a happy time for them. The old Soviet Union was still around. Remember those guys? They had their boys over in Afghanistan back in those days. And they'd been having about as much luck there as we'd been having in Southeast Asia. And I thought, well, has to have something in common. So I wrote a song for some of my friends who was getting back. Might be a few here tonight, so here's an old song for some old friends. Halfway of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. I get distracted. I didn't mean to stop or nothing, but I was just up here. I was remembering, because I learned this song when I was a kid. And I remember I was in the 5th grade, and I was going to a regular, public school, and it occurred to me one day that homework was wrong. It was just a morally bankrupt concept. Regular people that worked for a living were not expected to continue working when they got home. Why would it be different from little kids? Where was those union guys my dad had been singing about for years? I just quit doing it. That's when I discovered civil disobedience. There was nothing my mom could do about it. And so what she did was she took me out of that regular school, put me in one of these progressive schools, so that presumably I could progress. And I remember I walked in the first day of the new school, all the kids were standing up at the assembly in the morning. They're singing my dad's song, "This lad is your lad." I was the only one there that didn't know the words. Nobody told me that stuff was famous outside of our house. And when you're a kid, you don't think of stuff like that. So I ran home, tears in my eyes, and I told my father what had happened. And he made me go bring him this little 3/4 size guitar he'd given me on my 5th birthday, which I still have. And he sat me out in the backyard and showed me the chords, When I had that much done, he taught me the verses everybody was singing. There was about 3 of them, and I learned them. When I had that much done, he sang me some verses nobody had ever heard before, and I learned them too. And I started singing them, and I was singing them for years and decades, and I don't sing them all the time these days because anybody can find them. But let me leave you tonight with the last one. The last verse I ever heard him sing goes something like this. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, and this land is mine. From Bonavista to Vancouver Island, from the Arctic Circle to the Great Lake waters, this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, and this land is my land. From Bonavista to Vancouver Island, from the Arctic Circle to the Great Lake waters. This land was made for you and me. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, thank you. Tell you what.
Just one song.
There's a reason we put it on the record. Oh, man. We can do another, but here's the deal. The show is actually over. So we'll do this one. It's a very short one. There's one of the last ones my father ever wrote. He couldn't write music and couldn't read music. So what he would typically do when he was writing a song, he would just write down the words, and then he would make some kind of notation as to where he'd stolen the tune from. You can't do that anymore. But I came across the words to this, and there was no notation of any kind, so we have no way of knowing if it was meant to be a song, or maybe it was just writing a poem or something, or just jotting down some thoughts. But I came across it and thought, well, it needed to be a song, so I just put a little tune to it and been singing it ever since. It's very short, though. It's only a couple of verses long. So I'm just going to sing it. And then I'm just going to sing it again. And the second time through, I'll give you the words. And maybe you can help me out. I haven't asked all night. And I know this ain't 40 or 50 years ago. We'd always sing it about every day. That's a little too kumbaya for people these days. So if you're nervous about singing or something, don't worry about it. Just mumble your way through. Trust me, I know people make a living doing it. It's perfectly fine. And of course, when people are singing and mumbling together, something happens, gets inside you, fixes things you didn't even know was wrong. Better than that, it gets out of a beautiful building like this and tossed on the breeze. It's blowing out there and blows to places around the world we might not be thinking about right now. And there might be friends or neighbors or kin of ours halfway around the world hiding behind trees or rocks and walls. Other people have been shooting at them for months. And I can tell you, those guys can hear on the breeze over there the voices of people singing and mumbling together over here. And the sounds of kids playing, and the sound of the world the way it's supposed to be. And that just depends on people like us from time to time, just to keep it in mind. That's what all that kumbaya stuff's about. So here's a little song, see what you do. My peace is all I've got that I can give to you. My peace is all I've ever had. It's all I ever knew. I give my peace to green and black, to red and white and blue. My peace is all I've got that I can give to you. My peace is all I've got. It's all I've ever known. My peace is worth 1,000 times more than anything I know. I pass my peace around and around, cross hands of every hue. My peace is all I've got that I can give to you. It's easy. My peace is all I've got. My peace is all that I can give to you, that I can give. My peace is all I've ever had. My peace is all it's all I ever knew. It's all I have. I give my peace to green and black. I give my peace to green, to red and white and blue, to red and white and blue. My peace is all I've got that I can give to you. Sounds nice. My peace is all I've got. My peace is all I've ever known. It's all I've had. My peace is worth 1,000 times more. My peace is worth about anything I own. Than anything. I pass my peace around and around. I pass my peace around. Cross hands of every hue. Cross hands of every hue. My peace is all I've got that I can give to you. Go in peace. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Have a good night.
pickle was halfway between going up and coming down, he took out his gun and put a 3-inch bullet hole right through the long end of the pickle. It started coming back down. He stuck out his foot. He caught the pickle on his big toe. And balancing the pickle on his big toe, he reached his huge hand into his little pocket, pulled out a 10-foot ticket. He borrowed my pen. He wrote it up. Then he rolled it up and stuffed it in the bullet hole in the middle of the pickle, took the pickle with the ticket and shoved it down my throat. It was at that very moment that the pickle with the ticket was going down my throat that I knew for sure that I didn't want a pickle. I don't want a pickle. I just want to ride on my motorcycle. And I don't want a tickle. I'd rather ride on my motorcycle. And I don't want to die. Just want to ride on my motorcycle. He said, "Kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested?" I proceeded to tell him the story of Alice's Restaurant Massacre with full orchestration and 5-part harmony and stuff like that, and then all the phenomena stopped me right there and said, "Kid, did you ever go to court?" I proceeded to tell him the story of the 27 8x10 colored glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and stopped me right there and said, "Kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid,